recall us actually changing it one year on the calendar. And maybe I'm just.
No, I think you're right, Michelle, but no, I think you're right, but I think we just changed it. And so, and
yes.
I was digging. I mean, I was back into Kathy Perino calendars and I couldn't find an exact one, but I'm with you. I think we just changed it and
Yep.
it came off, but then there was no record of it, and so it went back on. So I think that's actually what happened. Courtney and I can still chase that down, but we plan to come back on the 26th.
I asked about this 2 years ago
Right.
About having it changed, but we at that time decided not to change it. So if that happened before, it would have been before 2 years ago.
I feel like we talk about it every year, but Carolyn's right as well.
Yeah.
So I think why don't we just come back on the 26th, have a full conversation about it, and then we can choose the direction we want to go.
All right. And then
I think it wasn't something that was, I think you're right. I don't think we voted on it. I think we just all sort of nodded and agreed to change it. And we had the opportunity to do it at that time. And then I think it makes sense that it didn't roll over because, there is no paper trail.
Yeah, that's one of the things we joke about the policies and things of that nature, but that's really where we go when we have a question like this. But and now it's all coming back to me. We were still going to celebrate the day and just change the name of it, and that means you don't have to do anything. It's just
right.
Okay.
I think I remember that now too.
But Courtney's on it. We've already started a draft, or we're in the process of starting a draft for 21-22, and it's already off. So no matter what we do, the name will be changed. So.
Okay.
I do want to add, we never laugh at policy changes. Right? No.
Hey, now.
Right. Eric, we appreciate you and those policy changes.
But.
Okay. Do you have something else, Steve?
Yeah, just to clarify, is it a change to Indigenous People Day, or is it?
I think that's what we need to talk about.
Okay.
It could just say schools closed. Or it can really say anything.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, it's literally just a name. Like, I mean, it could, like you said, say anything like schools closed. I mean.
Well, I could give you being a U.S. history teacher this year, I could give you the history of why we celebrate that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying, there's a lot of, we can choose.
I think it's worth discussing.
Absolutely. Yep. We'll have it on for discussion on the 26th.
All right.
Now Eric's excited because we're talking about changing policy.
That's it.
Look, camera's on and everything now. Look, now we know what we have to do.
Policy changes. What?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. So actually, before your superintendent's report, there is recognition on the agenda.
Absolutely. Certainly, we're not talking about policies, but Eric is here to announce our Above and Beyond winners. And it's just an opportunity for us to recognize some great things that are happening with our teachers. We had a number of new submissions and nominations, and we're excited to bring this back. And so we'll see these moving forward at future board meetings, just like we have in the past. So, Eric?
Yeah, I'm very excited to get this underway for our new school year. So we have 3 staff members that we selected to recognize for this month. And if you are in attendance, staff member, I'm going to ask that you unmute and turn your camera on if you can, or just let us know that you're here. And our first one is Amanda Watson from Western. Amanda, all right. So Ms. Watson's nomination says, Ms. Watson's leadership and welcome for this remote year have been tremendous. She's remained happy, calm, patient, and most of all positive every single step of the way. We are so lucky to have her teach our son this year. Ms. Watson was nominated by Jacqueline Ewers. Congratulations, Amanda.
Thank you.
Congrats, Amanda.
Our second nomination for tonight is for Ms. Dee Manis. Dee, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hi.
Hi. All right, Ms. Manis went above and beyond with offering support and encouraging words from the time my son started at Parker throughout the current COVID-19 crisis. She helped to build his confidence, improved his writing skills. During the pandemic, my father was diagnosed with COVID, and it was a sad and trying time for my family. Ms. Manis would frequently send emails just to let us know we were in her prayers, and she provided comfort and encouraging words to my son at the time when the effects of this pandemic began to weigh heavily on him. I don't know if she truly knows how much of an impact her words of encouragement and actions had with helping my son get through his first year at Parker. I will forever be grateful to her for all she has done, and she deserves all the recognition and praise in the world. Ms. Manis was nominated by Marcelia Dennis.
Oh, how sweet.
Congratulations, Dee. I mean, that is an example of really keeping that foot on the gas pedal in your final year. Just congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And our last nomination is for Mrs. Lisa Nicotra. Lisa, are you here tonight? Oh, she's not. Okay. So Mrs. Nicotra makes learning accessible with her technology solutions, ease in learning materials, sense of humor, and commitment to students. Her Bitmoji classroom has not only captured the attention of her students by making remote learning fun, but she continues to develop new slides to teach them different concepts in history. One parent student feels comfortable and excited to join this class daily. She receives updates as a parent with timely and helpful tips. Mrs. Nicotra also created additional office hours to support students with completing classwork, homework, or quizzes. She isn't one parent's child's SEL teacher, but she is definitely supporting the students emotionally as well as academically. Mrs. Nicotra was nominated by Antoinette Clemens and another anonymous parent.
Wonderful.
So congratulations.
That's exciting. Congratulations, everyone.
Absolutely. And just so an update, so last year we had several nominations where teachers weren't recognized, but not necessarily won the nomination. All of those nominations were shared with all nominated people last year. So we wanted to make sure that even though they weren't formally recognized, their efforts were still appreciated. So we sent that information out to all teachers a couple weeks ago. And then moving forward, since we're in this remote setting, I'm looking forward to a new format for our Above and Beyond recognitions for next month. So I attended a conference and got some really good ideas on how to do this a little bit better, a little bit fancier. So look forward to that for November.
Can't wait.
Wow, is that like a teaser?
It is. Look at that.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know I would look forward to the second November meeting as much as I thought.
Who thought? Who would have thought?
So thank you very much, Eric and Amanda, Dee, and Lisa. Congratulations to you. Certainly just nice to publicly recognize our teachers who give so much. We had a number of people nominated. We're going to keep that group coming to the board. It's just so important that everyone knows and everyone outside of our immediate classrooms and buildings can see the great work that our teachers are doing. So thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. And I know those words are all true from those parents. You guys are doing great things for kids, and that's what's most important. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And for those of us that are joining our call, our nomination can be found on our website under the Human Resources # Above and Beyond nomination. So please, if there's a teacher out there, we know that they exist in our district that are doing amazing, awesome things. Don't hesitate to nominate them, please.
And I just wanted to speak up and mention that I'm here. I probably missed roll call.
Yes, but I answered for you. And we have the same barber, so kind of.
Dana did your voice, Cam.
That's
So-
right. a poor impersonation.
All right, superintendent's report.
Absolutely. Yeah, this week actually brings the close of the first quarter of school in District 161. I honestly can't believe it unless I really sit and think about it. We really have come a long way. Thanks to our teachers, our students, our parents, this first quarter has been a success. We're definitely still making adjustments and still making revisions, but the remote program really does continue to improve with its efficacy and effectiveness for the instructional piece, but also just the ways that we're serving our kids who are in need during this time. So very thankful for those teachers. As we'll talk tonight, we are continuing with our plans to bring a select group of students back into the district for in-person learning experiences. We're going to focus, as we stated at the last meeting, on our pre-kindergarten students, early childhood program, our self-contained special ed classes, but also our students who are experiencing just maybe an increased level of difficulties with remote learning and are not finding success to a very critical level. We want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for all of our kids. The anticipated start date for those children will be the week of October 26th. Just as a matter of context, districts 153 and 233 are following a similar path, bringing in some of the specialized programs. With 153, Homewood 153 going the additional step of deciding to stay remote through December 18th. That's their last day before winter break. As we move certainly into the middle of October, we should probably consider a similar path. And after speaking with the local superintendents, we may want to include an additional time frame after we plan to open to allow for some mandatory quarantine issues, especially if we are looking around the holidays. We know that Wisconsin is currently on the list. Indiana may be added at some point, and that could complicate our return to work when it comes to having enough staff. For coronavirus locally, Flossmoor and Olympia Fields have not had any increases in the positivity rate. Homewood is up 33%. Hazelcrest is up 80%. Chicago Heights is up 90% for new infections, but our overall region is only up 1%. It's really important to keep an eye on those local communities, especially that serve Flossmoor District 161 proper, as we're trying to make decisions about how we want to move forward. But also specifically to District 161, currently as of last Friday, currently as of this week, we have 23 staff members who have completed the fit testing protocols. So that's having the multiple N95 masks and trying those on and going through the steps and the process to get verified that you have one that fits and will provide safety for you. So we'll have those 23 members done, probably a few more this week that we're just filling in, but we'll have the staff necessary to cover the quarantine rooms when we bring kids back on campus. We also have 2 additional staff members in quarantine, so our total is up to 27. And then, finally, the stat that just makes me think twice is that we do have 44 confirmed COVID outbreaks in Illinois schools, but the location and the specifics are not being shared publicly, so we'll never know where those are. They could be next door, they could be, at the bottom of the state or in the north part of the state, but we won't know that. We just have to make sure that we are gathering the most current data, looking at local information, and making the appropriate decisions when it comes to what we want to do in District 161. But I certainly cannot share all that information without thanking Kathy Knauer for staying on top of this for us, as well as Jackie Janicki for working with her closely to make sure that we have the right facts, we have the right data, that our people are getting tested and they have all the right materials. So thanks to both of them as we continue to move forward and make these decisions about how to safely bring our students and staff members back to the building. But that will be a big topic of conversation over the next couple of weeks and months. So that's the end of my report.
Can I ask a quick question? In regards to defining an outbreak, is there a criteria by which we can say, oh, that's definitely an outbreak, or they just have some kids who are sick? And the reason why I'm asking this is I think it's important for the community to know, since I've heard an earful of opinions about this from non-medical, non-epidemiologists, and, rightly so, concerned parents who would really like to know. So if you could illustrate what that is, I think that might be helpful for the community.
Yeah, I have to defer to Kathy. Kathy, are you on and available?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So an outbreak is defined as 2 cases which are epidemiologically linked to place and time. So if we had in one classroom, if we had 2 people that were diagnosed with COVID, they would be epidemiologically linked. So that's within 14 days. So 2 students in the same classroom within 14 days, that would be considered an outbreak.
Okay. And did the health authorities say why that is particularly dangerous and worrisome? Aside from, the obvious of, great, now there's 2 kids with COVID.
Well, when we look at the contacts and when they do the contact tracing and they look at the spread, and so basically it is, so you've got two people sharing a certain space over a certain amount of time. So 2 cases that are epidemiologically linked is significant. They would also look at cases. So if you had 1 case in one classroom and another, and you continued to see cases throughout the building, that would be another reason that they would look into different things in the building. But their definition is 2 cases epidemiologically linked to place and time.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy, can you speak to the death rate that we're at right now? I mean, I know case numbers are on the rise, but is the death rate on the rise as well, or no?
I would have to look into that to tell you the exact death rate, but that information is available. I will let you know that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Can we, well, I'll save it for when we're talking about the students returning later.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Kathy, can we talk about hospitalization rates too, when you look for that information?
Yes, definitely. And
I
that'll
think
be,
that's truly where maybe my mind was going, not so much the death rate, but more so hospitalization rate.
sure. And that'll be broken down by age group. So I'll get that information to you.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the superintendent's report? If not, we will move on to committee reports. We have both the equity and inclusion and learning and instruction.
Sure. So equity and inclusion, we had a brief meeting to get together, pick up some of our work. Primarily, we talked about, a couple of things. But one, moving forward on our plans for either auditing / professional development topics. And I know we have some people reaching out to a very, very thin pool of people who have the bandwidth to do this work. So I know we've reached out to some consultants on this topic. We should have some answers and feedback here when we meet again in a couple of weeks. We also talked about the Black History Month or Black History Curriculum Survey that we'll be filling out for the Illinois State Board of Education. I would say that the big rock is not the survey necessarily, but the response from the survey, and hopefully what that information will show about our curriculum and how we're providing learning experiences that are focused on history from a comprehensive point of view. This kind of goes back to that Christopher Columbus conversation, whether it's, Black history for a month or, Latinx history for a month, you name it. It makes perfect sense to embed history into the topics where it happens and to look at the different perspectives. So part of our conversation, here's our small jump over to learning and instruction.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Before you jump over, there's
Yes.
one more thing that you did mention really quick, was that we are going to look to increase the numbers on the
Yes.
committee. Yeah. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes, absolutely. We're actually going to do a drive for all of our committees, but certainly on our equity and inclusion committee, learning and instruction, and then community engagement. We'll be seeking members and participants who can join us for that. One of the ideas that we've had to increase some participation is to try to identify some, there'll certainly be people who want to join for the committee for the long haul, but there may be some people who are interested in just joining in for one small project or a larger project, but that certainly has a final ending date. So we'll try to put together some of that information for our parents and put that out so that we can recruit some members who are interested in joining for this work. And then, at learning and instruction, the segue there was talking about the survey and what that's going to look like. But we really spent a lot of time, at least initially, on just a quick review of remote learning and where we're at, but also starting to dig into the data. On October 26th, a big part of that conversation with the board will be on sharing our fall map information. We'll also tie that back to the Summer Academy work and those students. And we'll really take a look at our district from a numbers point of view that's focused on the instructional piece and the data that we'll use to judge the success of our programs for this year, especially as we move forward. So we looked at the data and different ways that we'll want to present that to the board. You know, we still need to clean up some of the charts and make sure the information is accessible, but that will be coming on the 26th. We also had conversations about our science rollout, which we all know we had to hit pause on last year. It was just absolutely too much. And I don't know that anyone is ready to just hit the go button in a comprehensive manner, but more of a targeted rollout, looking at our teachers who are best able to handle that, most likely starting at Parker, with teachers certainly directly in the science department who are focused on that. So we're still in the infancy moving on that process, but again, knowing that we do need to continue to move forward, and knowing that we still want to implement science, that's a critical topic for us moving forward. While I don't see it happening at the elementary level necessarily this year, I think there might be some work that we can do at the junior high level. So we're going to come back together as a learning and instruction team in the coming weeks. I believe we have a meeting scheduled in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and really pour through the data. We'll have additional information on the Black History Curriculum Survey, and then we'll have updated information on a particular pathway for science. So,
I have a quick question on that.
absolutely.
Have you guys had talks about, you know, realizing that it's not really realistic to roll out the science program like we want to?
Yeah.
Are there any like core foundational components that we can try to weave in without undermining the success that we're making with COVID remote learning?
Yeah, really good question, Steve. I think that's why we wanted to fall back to especially some of those Parker teachers and start to get their input. Because yeah, I think there's, especially, you know, since we are remote, that's really the only hope. I mean, unless we get to the point of shipping, you know, kits of materials to kids, I think we're in a tough situation. So it's really the theoretical piece, you know, the perspective on the changed next generation science standards. I think that's going to be a big piece, and just how those topics connect and what that means for instruction. So it's really, you know, looking at the new standards, looking at how they're weaving, you know, for example, engineering standards into, you know, the current expectations, and then what does that mean for us in the short term while we're still remote, and then as we bring kids back. So we need to, our next process is to speak with our teachers, make sure that we have a clear understanding of their perspective, and then bring a plan to the board. Amabel, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just add also that for the Black History curriculum survey and using that as a reflective process, as we talked about at the Equity and Inclusion Committee, our plan is to connect that committee with our district leadership team, as well as some additional teachers, so we can get a perspective from K-8. So pulling those representation from both of those committees together to work on those projects.
Great. Those are the committee updates.
Any other questions regarding the committee reports? When is the next equity committee?
Next equity committee. Let's see. On the right window here. I would have to go back to the minutes. I think we set it, but I did not put it in my calendar yet. So,
okay. And
but I believe we set it at the last meeting before we adjourned.
Yeah, I think I can remember that too. And when do you hope to get notice out to the community to encourage,
this week,
bribe, entice, participation, whatever?
Any beg, borrow, and steal.
When?
Beg, borrow, and steal. Yeah, we'll get it out this week. Probably we'll target Thursday.
It might be also helpful if info you can, like, if we can set the dates for the rest of the meetings, for the rest of the, at least the rest of the year, just something that gives parents an idea of what the time commitment looks like.
Yep.
And you are right. I mean, I think that there are certainly community members who might be interested in one thing that the Community Engagement Committee is doing or the Equity Committee is doing, but not necessarily everything. And, you know, I think as we are, when you get the results back from the survey that you're doing now, and, you know, we think about what training looks like. I mean, I'm sure there are several community members who would be interested in figuring out, you know, how can they support that. So, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So the invite for that will go out, if not tonight, tomorrow. We're looking to bring a group of people together next Monday for that joint, it was the 19th, for the joint district leadership team, E&I team, because we wanted to have that meeting, you know, and then have some information for the 26th as well. So that's the timeline.
Okay. Well, we have 78 people on the call, and I'm not quite sure how many make up board and staff, but, you know, all those who are not, please, we encourage you to toss your name in the hat. We would love to have you participate on the Community Engagement Committee and or the Equity Committee.
Absolutely.
A challenge to both of those committees is, you know, figuring out how do we, you know, how do you stay engaged remotely? Like, I mean, just really being creative about how we continue to do what we're doing remotely. So we need lots of voices at the table.
Absolutely.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then I am going to move to a number of action items that we have. The first one is for the personnel report. May I please have a motion to approve the personnel report 21-009?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Paredes.
Steve?
Unmute.
Yes, sorry.
Nelson.
Yes.
Griggs.
Yes.
Blackman. Yes. Lanier.
Yes.
Leedstra.
Yes.
Ports.
So the motion has passed. The bills for the month of October were reviewed by Carolyn Griggs. Take it away.
Yep. I had a few questions and Fran was able to answer them. So may I have a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $544,880,079.79. $544,880.79.
One more time, Carolyn.
May I have a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $544,880.79, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Nelson.
Yes.
Blackman. Yes. Leedstra.
Yes.
Lanier.
Yes.
Griggs.
Yes.
Paredes.
Yes.
Horace.
Yes, and the motion has passed. May I please have a motion to approve revised policies as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Yes, I did not catch that. I'm sorry. Can you tell me who did first and second?
Steve first, Carolyn second.
Thank you. And then we do need to go back to payroll after that. Lanier.
Yes.
Griggs.
Yes.
Leedstra.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Blackman. Yes. Paredes,
Yes.
Horace.
Yes, and the motion has passed. Thank you, Courtney. I completely skipped that one, which is a very important action item. May I have a motion to approve payroll for the month of September in the amount of $1,539,940.54.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Blackman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bleedstra,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Griggs,
Yes.
Lanier,
Yes.
Horace.
Yes, and the motion has passed. May I have a motion please to approve the FOIA request as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Bleedstra,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lanier,
Yes.
Blackman, Blackman,
I think she's frozen.
She frozen? Yeah, I think you might be right. Oh, there she is.
Yes. I'm certain it's on me, right?
yes, thank you. Paredes,
Yes.
Griggs,
Yes.
Horace.
Yes, and the motion has passed. May I have a motion, please, to approve the donation of a refrigerator, freezer, and books to Serena Hills from Alan DeCastro?
So moved.
Second?
We love that, Mr. DeCastro. My goodness. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Griggs,
Yes.
Lanier,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Paredes,
Yes.
Bleedstra,
Yes.
Horace.
Yes, and the motion has passed. We will now move to our last item on the agenda, which is discussion of our special ed update, our blended model of instruction of early childhood, pre-K, and special ed instruction students, grades K through 8.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for Jackie Janicki working on this. Before that, just to iterate what Michelle said, thanks so much to Alan DeCastro, who is always so generous with the kids, not only at Serena, but also District 161. We just certainly appreciate having him out there, always keeping an eye on our backs and helping us out. So Mr. DeCastro, if you're listening, probably not, but we'll make sure that we send him a note and thank him for his generous donation. But our only discussion item tonight is something that we're bringing back to the board, just as we've made a little bit of progress on it. Wanted to have Jackie back, and now we're really getting into the weeds here with the planning, and so just to make sure that everyone is on, the same page. But this is the same report that I referenced earlier that we spoke about at our last meeting, looking to bring back the specialized programs. The main difference here is the schedule. So I'll turn it over to Jackie, and she can share some information just about what we've changed, what we've updated, and where we are with families wanting to participate. Jackie?
Yes, good evening, everybody. So briefly, when we looked at the last data that's on the discussion item there, as of Friday, or as of October 8th, we had about 46 of our families in our initial survey that went out with our students that are attending those programs, saying that they wanted to attend in person. So what we then did was come up with a more specific schedule and a commitment form for parents to fill out so that we were sure that these were the actual families that wanted to participate. And then we also came up with the schedule, working with principals, teachers, cabinet, kind of everybody coming together to find the easiest way to transition. That would be also the least disruptive to teachers and the least disruptive to families. So at that point, we came up with the schedule that you can see at the bottom there. We settled on looking at 2.5 hours, 1 day a week, to kind of ease students into the buildings. Also to make sure that we have all of the proper safety protocols in place and that we are really allowing for those students who want to continue remote learning to not be too disrupted either. So there are still quite a few families, about half, that still elect to do the remote. And we wanted to be sure to have those students remain with their teachers and not to have to fluctuate staff too much. And in order to do that and to ease back in, we settled on that schedule, which is at the bottom.
Right. And I think, just want to throw some kudos Jackie's way. Not only is she working with our teachers who have, rightfully so, a million questions and spent a lot of time working just to make sure that this was a sound plan, but then also, working out with our parents and reaching out and having those conversations. You remember, we also shared our survey data at the last meeting. And, some of those numbers for wanting to return were up in the 58%, depending on the grade level. And then one, I think, was at 54. I think that was our 3 through 8 parents. But as Jackie said, as we began calling families, we're somewhere around 46% of those families being willing to come back in person. So, obviously, we don't expect those percentages to change on average, just an average percentage to drive who's going to come back. But, in generally, we would have expected over 50% of those families to want to return to an in-person setting, and they have not. So that's okay. The real lift here, and Jackie mentioned that, was creating a process that we can roll this forward. We can increase those days. We can also in the future come back in a hybrid model, and we're not going to completely throw these kids into a teacher that they've never had before, most likely when we come back in person. So a lot of planning, still a lot to be done, but we're targeting the week of the 26th, and this is the model. Are there questions? Pretty straightforward. We will definitely have, you should at this point plan on updates on this plan, especially for these small set of classrooms at every board meeting, but also certainly as our planning continues to increase, we're taking information from this and will help hopefully inform our plans to come back in a hybrid model when the board decides that's appropriate.
Question. The numbers for, and which column is it? I can't read, it's too small. Anyway, for Heather, I think it says 3 through 5. Is that correct, or is that 2 through 5?
You are right, David. It's 2 through 5.
All
It
right,
didn't
thank
make it on my Google change. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
Okay, it's all good, but I just want to make sure because I thought there were 2 classrooms. Okay, and
There are 2 classrooms there. It's a 2-3 and a 4-5.
Right. Okay. All right.
Sorry about that.
So that would be for. So whereas for Heather, that's actually for 2 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to say something from a discussion standpoint. I'm in full support of in-person or hybrid, and I do believe that we need to get our children back in school as soon as possible. But I think we want to do this with consistency and with where it is a consistent learning environment. From my perspective, the 2.5 hours, 1 day a week, will not create, that consistency. For me, I like to see something that will not create more hardship on our children. If we can't basically prove to them that 1 day a week or at 2.5 hours will help them get closer to achieving their accommodations and modifications in their IEPs, and that the 2.5 hours will not disrupt their routines that have been established, then we might not want to consider doing this. So I hope that we can try to address that. The two things that I'd like to recommend, though, is that when we look at this, that maybe we can examine doing this half a day for at least 4 days a week. And then the second thing that I'd like to also recommend would be that we examine possibly having a person come into either the classroom or have the students in another classroom, so that those students who did come in person can stay basically all day, and whoever's in that classroom can then watch over the students as they do go remote. That way the child basically comes at the start of the day and stays till the end of the day, and then gets a half a day, 4 days a week of instruction, then the other half remote, but they're still on campus. And that's all I got.
Great. Other questions?
Okay, sorry, I had to yell at my kids to be quiet first before I unmuted myself. So my concern is kind of along the lines of what David just mentioned. I just worry that that 1 day a week isn't going to be enough in consistency. I am in no way an expert on special ed, so I won't try to be, but the training that I have had has always lent itself to making sure that we offer students consistency, as David mentioned, and just a schedule that's adhered to daily. I know that I could speak on my own nephew's behalf, that he's in a different district around us, and he too is remote, and consistency is key, as all of you know, and especially Jackie can attest to. So I just fear that 1 day kind of is going to throw everything off, and maybe be a larger hurt than it is, a hindrance than it is, a positive outlook. I also have concerns of us meeting the minutes for all of our students with IEPs in general. I don't believe, and I've had community members reach out to me, that we as a district are meeting our IEP needs and minutes.
Do you have information from us that validates that?
No, just the parents that have reached out to me, just a few. So I'm not sure what, just of late, just unhappiness with just the program overall, and minutes being met. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So I want us to be vigilant in making sure that we're meeting our students where they're at. I understand that we are in a very uncharted period still from March when I said that statement. So nothing is rote. We're figuring this out as we go along, but we have to make sure that even though we're still not able to maybe come back full time and in person the way that we were supposed to come back in August, that we're still doing the job that we signed up to do as a district. And I believe that if we don't do that, we're going to have a school year lost. And I fear that more than anything is that this year will be lost because, and not just us, I think a lot of other districts in the area and the states all over the country, and probably over the world can agree to that. My kids are doing well, and I think a lot of other parents' children can attest to the same. But we have some learners that just are not being met where they're at. And so I really want to focus, as we're focusing in on bringing these students back, which is wonderful. And I would love to see them in the building 4 days a week. Like they were, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the students were going to go hybrid, the instructional students were going to be offered 4 days. Is that right?
We couldn't get that up.
No, we did.
Well, that was close. If you remember some of those conversations, I don't know that was definitive. I could be misremembering, but I don't know that was definitive.
So it was somewhere.
The 4 day option, I do remember in general, the 4 day option was not very popular with the board.
Okay. So it was more than 1 day a week, right?
Two.
So, okay.
So, yep. What we have to remember though, is that you mentioned the uncharted piece, right? So we have to start somewhere.
Yes.
So I mentioned the outbreaks in Illinois, right? But outbreaks outside of Illinois are also affecting us. What we don't have is a total of staff members who wouldn't be able to return, period, because of outbreaks that are happening in local districts where their kids teach and now their kids are home. Or, you know, putting teachers in a peculiar position to reaffirm those FCRA leaves for medical or childcare issues. And so what this represents is our best attempt to get kids in person at all, given all of those constraints. And so I would hope that the board would rest knowing that we're working very closely with the teachers to get as much time in person as possible. But when it comes down to it, there are other issues at play, not only the parents that don't want to come back, but with staffing issues that will prevent us, frankly, right now from being more aggressive.
I just want to respond by saying please don't view my forwardness as bringing our kids back as a disregard for, or that I don't feel that you guys are doing everything that you should be, because I have the utmost confidence. Sure. I know you are. There's got to be a way, and I've not checked in with Speed, but I know that they were doing appointments. They were scheduling their SPED students by appointment to get them their minutes that they needed. So, I mean.
Yeah, Christina, let me follow up on that minute thing. No one's reached out to me on that. And so I would hate to I believe you 100%, but those parents have to come forward and let us know, because if we don't know that, I would hate to have a conversation about how we want to change our service delivery model if I can't substantiate the need. So please have those parents reach out to either me or to Jackie, and or their building principal if they feel more comfortable. But you're right. I mean, that's non-negotiable. We have to meet those minutes. They're just too important to those kids for us not to meet those. And I know, Jack, if you want to touch on that, I know that that's an issue that you're really
that
focused
has been, that has definitely been, and I'm sorry, the dogs are having an issue. That has definitely been a push that I have been reiterating to all staff members, to everybody, that our minutes need to be, that there's nothing changed as far as guidelines. And that is why we did put together remote learning plans, so that we could look at those goals specifically and figure out how remotely we are going to address the needs of students. And we do have, for OT and PT, they are contracted outside of the district with Hillman Pediatrics, and they are in person now. Parents were given the option to make appointments for OT and PT to come in. So we have a lot of our special ed parents who have taken advantage of that, which is great. Again, not everybody elected to do it, but they worked very hard, and so they're awesome, our OT and PT therapists, and they were able to do that. And we also do, we are allowing, if there's any type of reevaluation or initial evaluations for testing, that parents can come in and that students can be tested in person for that too. But that's just all that we've offered so far, as as you were saying, Christina, with making appointments and coming in. Other than that, speech and social work and our resource teachers, everybody should be, we should be looking at meeting all of those minutes, which I know that they are working hard to do. But again, we can address that further too.
And one last thing, let's say in 2 weeks, and I know we don't have much time left in the school year, or I'm sorry, the second even quarter, we're already looking down the barrel of it and it'll be over before we know it. Is there any way to increase this by adding another session? Does that make sense? If like in 2 weeks, we've had absolutely no outbreaks and Kathy's like, oh, this looks great, I think we're okay, maybe we can throw in extra time, something of that nature. Has that been looked at?
Mm-hmm. That is definitely something we are going to consider, and that was put in the communication with parents, that this is just a starting. And as we move forward and we see how things are going, that there could be an increase. And also I'm going to do a weekly check-in with all the teams, all the teachers and principals in the buildings, just to make sure everything's going well. And if there's any concerns, Kathy and I will be right on top of it to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good questions.
Can you just explain a little bit about the thought behind 6 through 8 getting 2 days a week, and then your 3 through 5 getting 1 day?
Oh, do you want?
Yeah, well, staffing issues played a big role in us being able to create this schedule.
So is
And
it 2 different groups of 6 through 8 that are meeting?
yes, we have actually 3 classes at Parker
Yes.
total.
Okay.
Now, obviously, not all of those kids are willing to come back. So Jackie, you can talk about how the class is split.
So it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we are focusing on when the students are in person, that they'll be focusing on the content area that those teachers teach. And we also felt, in speaking with Amabel and considering that the students are older, that it would be beneficial for them to come back on those 2 days. Also, a lot of what we're looking at, we are going to be providing bus transportation. So we were kind of making sure that that worked out in each of the buildings and being able to utilize our 2 buses that we do have. So making sure we have the availability to clean and all of those types of things too in the classrooms. So trying to work out all those kinks too as we kind of move forward within the buildings and making sure that we have all those procedures in place.
If I may, I think that this is, certainly a good step in the right direction, but I think that this will be very useful to look at what goes well and help us to really refine our plan for reintroducing all students. So I think that it might be helpful to look in context of, sure, this is, we can't return to last year right away, but certainly it'll help inform our decisions moving forward.
So
I'm
sorry, Caroline. I'm still not quite sure I fully understand. I get the staffing issue, but can you just clarify? So the 6 through 8, there are 3 classes. Are all 3 classes meeting twice a week?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm still not quite sure. I'll follow up on this after, because I'm still not quite sure I understand the thinking behind your 6 through 8 meeting twice a week and then everybody else meeting once a week. So I will follow up on that, because there's something else that you had said regarding older kids versus younger kids that I think is worth circling back so I have a better understanding. I do agree with both Steve in the sense that we should kind of look at this as a pilot and how do we ease back in to school. I think each week there will be a new set of lessons that you all will be learning and reflecting and growing and tweaking as we go along. I tried to do the math or simple math and figure out how many weeks does this really mean, accounting for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's maybe like 5 weeks, Dana, like 5 or 6 weeks maybe. Yeah. Right. And so it would be good to think about this in terms of, 3 weeks from now, what have we learned? And I agree, Christina, could we, could the 3 through 5 come in twice a week? Like, what can we sort of queue up before we leave for the holidays so that we have, potentially, extended the pilot and we're testing something else so that after the holidays, you've got something else that you started, maybe it's the 3 through 5 twice a week. And I don't want to accelerate for the sake of accelerating. I'm just saying we should be making a conscious effort after, the first 3 or 4 weeks to figure out, could we expand the pilot? And if so, how can we do that? And if the answer is we can't because challenges with teachers in terms of them being available, like whatever, then that's what you come back with. But I would hate to not go into the Christmas break being a lot more knowledgeable about what we're going to come back to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So maybe after 3 weeks, then, put this back on the agenda and,
Okay.
give us updates and talk about sort of, what lessons have we learned?
Yeah.
Are we going to keep it like this? Just so that we have idea. And because my guess is that we'll also start getting questions from the community about, okay, so when? And so if we can just have the full picture, however
Yeah,
promising
absolutely.
it might be.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Jackie, I want to make sure that I understand the schedule just so that I understand it. So I see Parker, Heather, Western, Flossmoor, Western, but not Serena, right?
Right. So we do not have any pre-K classrooms there any longer. We only have them at Flossmoor and Western, and there's no instructional classrooms there.
Okay, so the 3 to 5 at Heather are students throughout the district, or
Correct.
just
Right.
Heather?
Right.
Okay.
They're feeder programs, right, from all the buildings.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Dana, if I could rewind for a second, when you were in your report, and just what Michelle just said made me think. You said Homewood's 153 just released a statement about they would be remote through the end of their second quarter. Is that what you said?
Yeah, not just, but they're for sure remote through December. Yeah.
So they weren't for sure. I mean,
I'm just making sure that you know that Homewood is.
okay.
Yeah.
Now-
and that wasn't in the last week or two. I think that was
Okay.
a few weeks back.
And well, we're for sure, right? I mean, that's been stated. I mean, what? So, or have we not even said that? Have we not made a statement that said we're for sure through a date?
I don't know that we've said that. I'm convinced that unless we start somewhere, it's never going to happen. So
Right.
our best opportunity is to kind of weigh all the safety issues and take into account, frankly, the perspectives of the parents and information from our teachers. That's represented in this chart here, and it is as aggressive as we feel that we can currently be, given the staffing and the student issues that we're currently facing. And so if the time doesn't look like it's a lot, it's because it's not, and that's okay. But we also know that as long as we can start and really kind of demonstrate that the protocols in the remote learning plan that we put together at the beginning of the year are still good and they're still going to work, we can start hopefully building some trust with our students, our parents, and our teachers and saying, look, this is working. We're keeping our social distancing. We have the protocols in place. Give us a springboard. That first springboard is probably, getting back to the 2 days a week for these specific groups here. And then, then really the world is our oyster as long as we've got good numbers in the community and, there's not a return to a different phase or any updated guidance from ISB. We should be in a good position to move forward.
Have we heard from ISB at all? About
Nothing
this?
has changed yet.
I know sometimes they don't tell us stuff till curtains up, but
Yep. Now, nothing substantial has changed,
okay.
but I'm thankful that we're getting a lot of check-ins. Even though nothing is changing, ISB, they are there for us, and I'm very thankful for that.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So this is a good one. We're going to keep working on this issue. Again, it's very important. It's very important to our kids and to our community for us to figure this issue out and continue to make good decisions. And so we'll continue to bring you the best information that we can. I would certainly expect a very jam-packed agenda on the 26th as we come back, not only on this topic, but certainly as we start to really kind of unpack our fall data and what that's going to mean for our current learning plans, but also moving forward. Awesome. Christina, did I answer your question?
I think so.
Okay. If I think about it and if I didn't, give me a call.
Okay.
Okay, and then between now and the date when those students will return, what's left to do in preparation?
Well, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. there's, I think, 8 different bus routes that we'll be managing internally. So putting the final touches on that. And I know Fran is working with our, Cook, Illinois to help on the routing and everything, but that will be handled by our buses. So just making sure that those pieces are ready to go. Obviously finishing up the fit testing, making sure the cleaning schedules are set for everyone who's going to be in person, and that all the teams frankly know what this is going to mean, not only for Parker, but for all the different buildings that are affected. So Jackie, you can talk about any specific finishing touches, but.
So we are going to meet with staff. We met last week and we're going to meet again this week, and just making sure that we have the rooms are all ready. Kathy and I are going to walk through the buildings next week. Once we have a definite number on how many students will be in each classroom, and just making sure that all the desks are placed appropriately and that we have everything set up. And then I'm also meeting with teams this week just to talk about instructionally for those 2.5 hours. Really the focus is going to be looking at, no specials. Those would be later in the afternoon, just really that we're just focusing on academic and SEL things too during that time. And also looking at any type of progress monitoring of students too. On their goals, because it's important for that to be done in person too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had asked at the last meeting when we talked about this, when this was brought up, the return of these instructional students, if we were utilizing those staff members that we didn't have much. So is this taking care of that issue that we had with them?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
awesome.
tremendously.
Good.
Tremendously. It just gives us a different opportunity to utilize some of those people. So it works out. And with bringing some additional students back into the buildings, we can utilize, we're certainly utilizing our custodians now. And we're frankly making some good headway on some projects. But they'll be needed once we're bringing those kids back in the buildings. And, we've got other events coming up too. We've got voting on the 3rd. And we have, we know that our buildings, 3 of our buildings at least, are polling places. And so, we have found opportunities to get everyone to work supporting kids, or at least supporting the physical plant in a way that's not wasteful and that's very responsible.
Great. Glad to hear.
Yeah, me too.
Any more questions or comments? There is a chance, obviously, that we may think of more questions between now and
Send them over.
that day comes. So let us know. I'd be particularly interested if the number of participants increases or decreases. And you don't have to answer this now, Jackie. I'm also curious to see how our final number matches up with actually what people said on the survey.
We'll bring that for you for sure.
It's one thing to say, yep, this sounds like a great idea, click that box on the survey, and then when we actually do outreach and, people may have second thought. I mean, there's just, who knows? Every day, there's a different statistic thrown at us about what's happening in the, in our area, in the county, in the state, and I'm sure Kathy Kanala can speak way more intelligently than I can about this, but now that, flu season is upon us and soon it'll be Thanksgiving. So, college kids who are in neighboring states that are still hot zones to be coming home. I mean, so all kind of things could impact people's willingness to want to do this. So,
yes.
So just keep us posted, but I'm sure we will probably have some questions between now and that date.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jackie mentioned her meeting, that's on Thursday. So really you can send your questions anytime, but if you kind of keep that in your mind as a target, send any questions to Jackie and I will make sure that we certainly get them all worked out with the teachers.
Okay, great.
Dana, I just want to say, to piggyback a little bit off of Michelle, so not to discourage anyone, but as we talk to parents, to also have them think through what it looks like, because some, like Michelle says, there can be this knee-jerk reaction, like, sure, that sounds like a great idea. If I just take myself as an example, like I have a parent who lives in a hot zone now. Yeah. And my visiting her and spending time with her, we have to kind of rethink how we interact, and the things that seemed innocent enough aren't as innocent as it used to be. And then, but we now have this responsibility that if we interact with her, now we have to wonder, it's the quarantine, it's, you know, it's just a lot of things that we now have to think about. It's not just, oh, let's go see, you know, grandma. So as the parents, like, encourage them to think it through too, because we definitely want the kids to go into the school that need to be in the school and all of that. But I am definitely not wanting an outbreak to happen in the village of Flossmoor, as I know no one does. But it's just, that is of high concern, because this village is not that, we can't take that. We don't have that capacity. And especially for the teachers, like you pointed out, they have kids who are in different places, and then how it impacts them. So not to discourage anybody by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm very happy that you kind of thought of it holistically, because it's not just, we're all connected, and to understand fully what it means beyond what we just see in front of us at this moment. So.
Yeah, that's a good point, Misha, with all the connections. And sometimes it's overwhelming, to be honest. But, you know, I think the more that we give critical thought to these issues, the better sound decisions that we can make. So I appreciate you all being really a sounding board for this. We'll gather up not only some additional information just as we're moving into our meeting on the 26th, but certainly keep this on the agenda as we move forward. If you have any questions, please send them on over to Jackie and I. We'll be in close contact this week as we get ready for Thursday's meeting, and then prepared to welcome students next week. Great.
Okay. All right. Well, I think with that, that is the end of everything that is on the agenda. Thank you all very much. We will look forward to agenda for us to discuss. So it won't be this short.
No, it'll be substantial, but that's okay.
And thank you, Jackie, for your report. I mean, obviously, everybody's goal is to always, always, always do what's absolutely the best thing for our children and families. And so, Christina, I certainly hear you. You know, can we do more than 2 hours? You know, I mean, it's almost like a teaser. It's kind of like Eric's little teaser about, you know, what's to come next month with the awards. But I get it. So I think we can all say that when it is safe to do so, you know, we all want the kids to get as much time in that building with teachers and their, you know, kiddos as possible. Yeah, it just stinks, right? I mean, my little one has awesome days, and then there are days, you know, where he just wants to physically be in that building, like in tears, like I want to go to school. And you know, how many times do you get that where your kid's crying saying, I want to go to school, right? I'm trying to capitalize on that. So anyway, I need a motion to adjourn.
Just to clarify, we are not going into executive session.
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay, I missed that. All right, thank you. So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned at 7:16. Have a wonderful rest of the week.
Have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.